In 2018, I bought this. It cost me £250 in the UK. At the time, that was equivalent to 334 US dollars, 282 euros, and 446 Australian dollars for our friends down under. At the time, that was a lot of money to spend on a binder of Pokemon cards. Remember, this was 2018. This was before the COVID boom. So spending that kind of money took a fair bit of backwards and forwards before I finally made the decision to pull the trigger. So, what was in there? Let's have a look. This was the most of it, pretty much what you see here with some gaps. But at this point I had a large chunk of the earlier Gengar cards in both English and Japanese, so I decided to try and complete a Gengar master set. So what were the rules? So firstly, the card has to be named Gengar, so cards he shows up in but he's not the featured Pokemon in, they don't count. I have to have all variants, so regular, reverse holo, holo, secret rare, and so on. And not only was I going for all the English ones, but I needed to get all the Japanese cards as well. So over the years, I've been adding to the collection and have managed to achieve the goal. I've been getting them graded via Beckett over time with varying results. So let's take a closer look at those graded cards that round out the collection, as well as the other binder pages with some of the lower value modern cards. Some of these cards were in the original binder, and some of them have obviously been released since 2018, so there's a mixture here. So you can see there we started off with a lower grade for that legendary reverse and the Masaki. And here we're just going up in ascending order at this point. So we're getting into the 8s now, and you can see that between the modern and the vintage cards, they're sharing the same grade. So even some of these cards that have only been around for 2, maybe 3 years, pulling those lower grades, and I think that's partly down to the modern print quality, but who knows. But what's for sure is that a lot of the cards that were in that binder were actually in really, really good condition, and whoever had them before, they obviously looked after them. They've stayed in that binder until they've gone off for grading. And as you can see here, we've got some really nice vintage cards that are pulling in those higher grades. There's that web series at a 9, one of my absolute favourites. So we're up into the 9s now. These are the more prized ones as we get through. Now we're into 9.5. Again, a lot of modern, but then the surprise really was these 4. So you've got the Fire Red Leaf Green and its Japanese equivalent, and the Skyridge Holo and its Japanese equivalent, all pulling in 9.5s. And at the end here, the only 10 I've achieved with Beckett so far. And here's the remainder of the cards that I have in the binder that I haven't got graded yet, either due to them being lower value or just not getting around to it. There's also a couple of extra cards in there and some oddities that I picked up along the way. So what's the set worth now? Price charting as of the time of recording estimates around 32,004 Great British Pounds, 42,965 US dollars, 36,854 euros, and 65,285 Australian dollars. Not bad for a £250 investment. Before I end the video, my question to you is, am I missing any? I should have noted in the rules that these cards needed to be widely released to the public, i.e. not some Cosmo Holo that was a factory prototype in the early 2000s and there's probably one sat in some ex-Wizards of the Coast employee's basement. It's surprisingly hard to find any data online with a definitive list of cards, but as far as I can tell I have them all, but who knows? Maybe one of you does. But I hope you enjoyed this video anyway. I haven't made it to make any profit, so I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe, but feel free to share it with your fellow Pokemon enthusiasts, especially if they're a Gengar fan like me. So thanks for watching, and happy Gengar hunting.